dress, a pair of jeans, or even tight leggings is not only acceptable, but recommended. But wait, a Muslim woman must veil. That veiling is a requirement of her faith. This term is the hijab. The Quran consists of 114 chapters, and there are more than 6,000 verses in the Quran. Of those 6,000 plus verses, 3 refer to how a woman should dress. One of them speaks directly to the Prophet's wives, asking them they begin to dress a bit more modestly because of their role and function in society as his wives. When Islam started spreading through the Arabian Peninsula, a verse was sent down asking that women use this scarf and cover their breasts because they would wear a tight vest that would show their breasts. It argued by many Muslim scholars that the reason these verses were left intentionally vague is so that a woman should choose for herself how to dress according to her specific culture and the progression of time. And the term hijab is not in any of these 3 verses. In fact, it's nowhere in the Quran directly meaning a woman's veil. I don't mean to say that the word doesn't appear in the Quran, because it does, but when it does, it's actually used correctly, meaning a barrier or a divide. Hijab doesn't mean a woman's veil. Honorable women should stay at home. Honorable women should stay invisible, just like it was the custom for honorable women to do during the Prophet's time.
Is this a question?
This is our reply.
Oh. They introduced it. That's not really a reply. That's more of an ambush.
Okay,
because that has nothing to do with what we just talked about. It has a completely different topic. So I need to have the freedom to answer as long as they said, because, yes. So, unfortunately, the debate is not going in the proper order for an educational setting, meaning you should have heard the verses of hijab first so that you know that it's there before you hear this. But it's going in a different direction. So I will answer their question that the hadith, I need a little bit extra time to bring the ayah that they referenced. They just mentioned it, but they didn't say the ayah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu, O Prophet of Allah. This is a command from Allah, pay attention. Qul li azwajik, say to your wives, because they mentioned that it was for the wives in one of their arguments. Wa banatik, and your daughters. Wa nisa'il mu'mineen, and all of the women of the believers. Yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihin, that they should cover themselves with outer garments. We may talk about that later. But the jilbab in the Quran means you have undergarments, then you have outer garments. Okay? So hijab is 2 parts. The jilbab and the khimar. Each in a separate ayah in the Quran. This ayah is about jilbab. The reason I bring this up now before the khimar, which is the one I wanted to start with, is because they mentioned that these are old cultural practices that have no place in our current time. And remember what we said, for the mu'min, it is not a matter of what we think. It is a matter of understanding what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. If Allah said, wear it until the end of time, what will we as mu'mineen do? We will say, okay. If He said it is only for their time, then we will see. So let us look. This is their argument that they made out of left field. Because the way... When nisa'il mu'mineen, so tell your wives, your daughters, and all the believing women to cover themselves with jalabib, jilbab, singular. ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى أَن يُعْرَفْنَ فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. This is the argument. Listen to this part. So this will be more conducive to their being recognized as decent women, meaning when they wear the Muslim garment, they will be recognized as decent women, listen closely, and not be annoyed, meaning not be harassed by others. So her argument is, Alhamdulillah. It's not a new argument, obviously, it's just from Google or something. But the argument is that the ayah said, to prevent them from being harassed, let them wear the beautiful Muslim garment that will show that I am a chaste woman. Leave me alone. Do not harass me. Now, the argument is saying, her argument, alhamdulillah, we don't have that problem anymore. We're not being harassed anymore as women. We live in a free country and there are laws, alhamdulillah. So I don't need the hijab anymore because the purpose of the hijab was to announce to all these vagabonds and these street people, I am not a prostitute. That's her argument. Let's see the answer to that now. I just rephrased the argument. That's not my time. I was telling them what they heard, because she said it so fast that nobody got it, and this gentleman was clapping very hard. So I don't that doesn't matter. So okay, so it's okay. I'm just joking. So listen closely now to the answer. Here's the answer. Just because, are you listening, guys? It's important. Just because you don't wear hijab, brothers, doesn't mean you don't need to know the answer. Okay? Just, you need to know. Just because a particular command from Allah came down due to certain circumstances does not negate the possibility of it being a permanent command until the end of time. Unless Rasulullah himself said, this command was given and I stop it now, or Allah stopped it now. Let's give some examples of this. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu narrated that a man kissed a woman unlawfully. I don't know, okay. A man, so he went to Rasulullah and he said, oh Rasulullah, I made a mistake. I kissed a woman haram. I made a mistake. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down a verse for this specific incident. Listen. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. And offer prayers perfectly at the two ends of the day and in some hours of the night. Indeed, good deeds will remove bad deeds. What was Allah's answer to this confession? A man told Rasulullah, I kissed a woman by mistake. Not by mistake, but you know, it was a mistake. Okay? It wasn't by accident, you know what I mean, right? What do I do? Rasulullah did not answer him. Allah answered. He said, establish the prayer, and the good deeds will erase the bad deeds. Now, by her argument, this ayah should be nullified, right? Because it came down for this incident. However, that's not the case. In fact, the man asked Allah, is this ayah for me only? So Rasulullah said, no, this ayah is for all of my ummah until the end of time. It came down for this incident, but it is forever. One more example, please. Okay. If they ask for more time, you may give them two. It's like, it's normal, inshallah. In the end, the goal is for us to learn, right? So, another example is temporary marriage in Islam. That used to exist, that temporary marriage existed. I'm not going to go into what temporary marriage is, you probably know. Rasulullah said, O people, I had permitted you to do temporary marriages, meaning Rasulullah did not tell them to do it. They were doing it already, so he let them do it. But Allah has now forbidden it until the end of time. So here's an example of how Rasulullah said, there was something that I allowed and I stopped it now. Or Allah can say the same. Hijab is not one of those things. Yes, the people used to bother the believing women, so they covered. But until the end of time, this ruling will stand. Jazakumullah khairan.
I think we should go to the next question.
Is it possible, and I know this is a silly request for a debate, but if we start earlier in the questions, like the list, it will be better because that way I can introduce the verses of hijab. I can actually say, here's the verse of hijab, you know?
Okay. All right, we'll start with the question. So why can we dress modestly but show our hair?
Okay, jazakumullah khair, thank you.
What's funny?
Okay, 1 second. Thank you, sister, for that. Yeah, the question was, why can't we just be modest and dress modestly and show our hair? We're still modest. And the answer is, the simple answer and the correct, straightforward answer for the believer is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, cover your hair. This idea of modesty, we can get into it in the next questions. But to cover your hair, I want you to hear the ayah. Because subhanAllah, there are women who go through their whole life, and it's not their fault, it's the society's fault, but it's also partly their parents' fault and them not seeking knowledge. There are women who can go their whole life and not know that there is an ayah in the Quran that says, put the hair, cover your hair. So at least hear it before you say, I heard someone say that you don't need, that there's no ayah of hijab in the Quran, which she mentioned, that there's no mention of the word hijab in the Quran for clothing. So let's listen to the ayah. We mentioned the ayah about the jilbab. Let's talk about the one with the hair. In Surah An-Nur, ayah 31, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنَّ وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. Listen closely. This is the part that you need to know. Ayah 31, Surah An-Nur. Listen. وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ I don't have a hair scarf. So. وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O Rasulullah, tell the believing women. Notice again, all of the ayat of hijab, they always start with the same. Tell the believing women. The believing women. Why the believing women? Because those are the ones who will respond to this. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ, to guard their gaze and protect their privates, etc., etc. And then he says, and let them take their khimar and strike it. Listen to the emphasis on the word. And strike it across their chest to cover their chest and neck. The daraba here, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ, is an emphasis on the action of doing. If someone says, and they may argue, and I think they mentioned it already, that the khimar was simply a thing that all the women wore back then. There is no place in the entire Quran where Allah mentions an article of clothing, and I think she said that, except in the ayat of hijab and then libas in general. Khimar and jilbab. That means Allah knows what He is saying. Take your khimar, and if you don't have a khimar, put that khimar on your head. And then strike the khimar over your chest to cover your bosom and this entire area. So, the hijab you're not allowed to show your hair because Allah said, cover your head. And then strike with that covering over your chest. So, this is a direct command. The only way to wiggle out of it, I'll let them wiggle out of it then. Go ahead. Jazakallah.
Just Dr. Islam, a quick follow-up question.
Go ahead.
Is it the consensus now of all majority Muslim scholars that this is what this means? That they have to fully cover their hair?
I'm not getting into the fully covering and all that stuff, okay? Let's just stick to the topic, all right?
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm going to answer your question. I like it, but be careful how you phrase the question. I didn't mean to upset you, sorry. So, no, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. No, it's a good question. We're supposed to be getting to that soon, but just so you know, this is an unusual topic, to be honest with you, to be debating. You know, we have lots of things in our religion where the scholars discuss things, and there's some differences, and they may, he has his evidence, and he has his evidence, and it's understandable. The entire ummah of Muslims, from the day that the Prophet ﷺ passed away until now, more than 1400 years, the ummah has never disagreed that hijab, which is the khimar and the jilbab just means outer covering, right? Meaning no tight clothing and stuff, etc., is wajib. That you need to do it. It has never been any real difference until 1898 when a French Egyptian man raised in Europe decided to write something saying that we don't need it. The entire Muslim ummah has been united and has never debated it until recent. And by the way, it's not like the scholars are debating it now. It's just people talking. And subhanallah, what did I want to say? The only debate that exists, just so you know, is whether Allah commanded women, mentioned, not that men commanded women, that whether Allah commanded women to cover their face and hands and feet. So some of the scholars said no, the feet do not need to be covered. Minority. Some scholars said the face doesn't need to be covered. Some scholars said it does. I'm not going to get into the details. The point is, the discussion was never, ever about the head scarf. It was always about the face, the hands, and the feet. Yes, sister, this is not right. But can I?
I think we should let the questioners finish, and then afterwards, Dr. Islam will. Okay, 2 questions from the audience at the end, and we'll make sure you're one of them. So if you guys want to go ahead and... You have your next question or rebuttal? Next question?
So we just wanted to clarify, today's debate is on specifically hijab and modesty.
Yeah.
So we were going a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to clarify that with you.
Okay, is that a question?
No, just a
Okay,
clarification. Okay, so I also discovered, like what you were saying, how it doesn't really say anything about like the head covering. So if we take the khimar in the first verse that refers to the head covering, it says, tell them to draw the khimar over their bosoms, as you said. It doesn't actually say they must actually keep the khimars on their head. Even though that might have been the normal practice, it doesn't mean that it's obligation to continue that normal practice. In a hadith, it says that a woman's prayer is not accepted without a head covering, but that applies to prayer specifically. One would not infer from this that this applies to all situations, because prayers could have its own stipulations on how to have proper comportment. We perform hajj, a certain type of clothing, but you wouldn't wear the same type of clothing in all situations. The second verse mentioned, that's in Surah 33, verse number 59, it's mentioned in hadith that after this verse was revealed, that Muslim women came out of their houses having covered their heads and tore off pieces of their garments to make head coverings for themselves and came out covering their heads. Just in any case, this shows that this was the practice of the community at the time, but that too doesn't necessarily imply that it's an obligation. It could be something recommended, something that's a sunnah, a common practice among Muslims, the practice of the earliest generations that Muslims can recommend for Muslims to follow. And you might even say that Muslims should do this, but to say must, this is an extra step for which the evidence is lacking.
Do I answer this or just...
If you guys can just relax a little bit.
Why are we supposed to cover ourselves instead of Islam commanding men to lower their gaze and respect women? That's the third question.
So the question is, why should we cover ourselves instead of just having men lower their gaze and, I'm assuming, control themselves? So Islam did command men to lower their gaze and did command them to respect women, and they will be held accountable for their actions separately, men. The covering has nothing to do with men. And I want to make this clear because of the current time that we live in and what you hear in the social media and stuff like that. The covering has nothing to do with men. Your relationship is with Allah, not with men or anyone else for that matter. Women are not subjugated to men in Islam. They are free to choose whether or not to obey Allah, just like any man is. However, this does not mean that Allah will not provide roles for each person. So, for example, a child must defer to his parents, even if his parents are wrong. The young must defer to the elder, even if they are weak. The neighbor must be patient with his neighbor, even if the neighbor is mean to him. The student must be respectful to the scholar, even if he feels like he knows more. The ruler must be good to his civilians, and the civilians must be obedient to the ruler, meaning the law. These are all roles that Allah established. It's not because you like it or not like it. It's not because it's fair or not fair. Allah has decided this is the order of society. A husband has to be gentle with his wife, and a wife by Allah's command, should defer to her husband, even if she is smarter than him. This is the way Allah has set up those rules. None of these people are actually subjugated to the other party. The angels have to serve us. The angels are serving us right now. They're writing down our deeds. They're helping us. They're making dua for us. Because they are subjugated to Allah. We are not better than them. They are not our servants. So Allah creates roles for everyone. None of these people are subjugated to the other party, but they are all subjugated to Allah. They do the right thing because Allah told them to do. Yes. Now listen closely to this. The presence of the man is just the immediate cause of the ritual, but it has nothing to do with the obligation. When you pass gas, you have to make wudu. You don't make wudu because you passed gas. You make wudu because Allah said. The gas is simply the immediate cause. When the sun sets, you pray Maghrib. You don't pray Maghrib because the sun set, meaning for the sun. You pray because Allah said, when the sun sets, you pray Maghrib. So, by that same token, Allah did not say, wear the hijab for men. He said, wear the hijab because I'm Allah. I said wear it, and you do that. Whether or not men have issues with women has nothing to do with your relationship, sister, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa iyyak.
So, sisters, how would you guys respond to the statement that you don't wear hijab for men, you wear it for Allah? Did you hear me?
Do I say it now? Wait, because I'm basically going to say, listen, basically, the word hijab goes for both men and women. But there has to be, what's the reasoning behind, wait, I got it.
Okay, can I go? Okay.
Guys, can we be quiet so we can let the sisters answer the question?
So we're going to reply first, and then if you don't have anything else to say, we'll ask our next question.
Okay. Okay. You said that hijab has nothing to do with men, right? He's ignoring me.
Meaning the obligation comes from Allah. It has nothing to do with men. Your situation with Allah is between you and Him. Yes.
Okay, but hijab goes for both men and women in Islam.
What? Please clarify.
Okay, so it does. Okay,
Khimar and jilbab is for women. Is that what you mean? That the khimar and the jilbab are for men as well?
no.
Okay. Then what do you mean?
Yeah, of course.
So she means by this that men also have to wear hijab, and the hijab at this point is basically to cover their bodies. You cannot wear very tight pants and you pray with this. So that's kind of hijab as well.
Yes. Okay, so it's just a confusion of terms. Yes, men have a certain dress code as well, Islamically. They must cover certain parts of their body, and they must wear loose-fitting clothing, etc., etc., yes. But I don't think that's the discussion for today.
So basically you said it had nothing to do with men, but the whole reason we weren't in the first place was because they were getting molested by men back then.
I know, but sister, I already answered that question. The molestation was happening at that time, but Rasulullah continued this ruling until the end of time. Since you asked that, now give me another minute to answer. After Rasulullah opened up Mecca, right? All the Muslims were safe. They were the most powerful force in Arabia. There was no more kuffar to harass the Muslim women. There were no more vagabonds in the street to irritate the righteous, free women of Islam, the chaste women. How come the women did not take off the khimar, or the striking of the khimar and the jilbab, after the safety was established? And the safety was during the reign of Abu Bakr, and the safety was during the reign of Umar. The safety spread all across. Women could travel long distances and not be harassed. But they kept the hijab because they understood from Rasulullah, the greatest generation, understood that this was a command until the end of time. It has never been reported that any of the Muslim women ever removed these garments. And one last response to your suggestion that this is just a cultural practice that would expire with time, is that they used to ask Rasulullah, "O Rasulullah, when we help the sick people in the battlefield, we're not wearing our jilbabs. Can we run out and help them, or do we need to wear the jilbabs?" And Rasulullah said, "No, wear your jilbab before you go out." So therefore, they are requesting a religious ruling from Rasulullah. If it was a cultural practice, they would not have asked the Messenger of God. They would have just done what they normally do. Another example of that is during the Eid Salah. Rasulullah said, "O women, come out of your homes and come to Salah." And they used to say, "O Rasulullah, is it okay if we go with no jilbab?" And he used to say to them, "No, you must come with a jilbab, cover yourself." So then they would say, "Well, what if we don't have one?" He said, "Borrow one from your sister and then come and join the festivities." If it was a cultural practice, why would they need to ask an Arab man about what they should wear? They are asking Rasulullah because he is Rasulullah. What does Allah want us to do, Rasulullah? He wants you to wear it. So that answers that.
So I have a question for the sisters. Dr. Islam has very clearly pointed out that Allah wants women to wear the hijab, right? So when women are discussing removing the hijab, right, saying it's not what Allah wants, what can even be the counter argument for that?
So in Islam, we need to understand that you shouldn't. Okay, so in Islam, or in general, we need to understand that you shouldn't judge people based off how they look and more of their mentality and intentions. So the hijab shouldn't define that.
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
No, real quick, I'll do it. So, sister said that we should not judge people based on based on their intentions. She also said we should not base our judgments on how they look. She is correct that only Allah can judge intentions, and there's so many examples in the Sunnah that say Muslims should never attempt to judge the intention of another person. And there are companions who have done that. They judged an intention of someone, and Rasulullah said, "I'm innocent of you." Did you open his chest and look inside to see what he really wanted or what he really meant? So you cannot judge the intention of anyone. Only Allah can judge an intention. However, and this is where I would disagree with the sister, and this is just a common American cliche, you can't judge someone's actions or how they look. This is not correct. Islamically speaking, we judge people's actions. We do not judge the person. We do not say the person is bad or good. You might be bad. They may go to Jannah and you may not. Allah will judge based on circumstances and intentions. However, we can judge the action. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the believers are the witnesses of Allah on earth. And Umar radiallahu anhu used to say, "O believers, we will judge you based on what you do. We do not know what is in your heart." So, if someone does a bad action, we are allowed to say, "This is a bad action," and do whatever is appropriate in that situation, meaning advise the person lovingly, not condescendingly, never thinking that you're better than the person. There's etiquette, of course. Never always giving the person many excuses. For example, maybe the person does not know the ruling. Maybe the person is not convinced by the ruling. Maybe her circumstances or his circumstances are such that she cannot do that thing at that time. It's okay. Still, we can judge the action. But we don't judge the person, whether that person is good or not, or modest or not, etc., etc. And know, brothers and sisters, that what is in your heart will come out on your tongue and in your actions. So what you believe in your heart, you will show, even if you don't want it, on your tongue and in your actions. So the people will see what you do. And they will say, he submits to Allah, he doesn't. Prophet ﷺ said, for example, if someone prays in the masjid every day, فَاشْهَدُوا لَهُ بِالْإِيمَانِ. This is a big deal. You are allowed to say, this man is a mu'min. Even though in the Quran, Allah said you're not allowed to call your own self a mu'min. But your brother can call you a mu'min if he sees you go to the masjid every day. Things like that, and there are many examples of that in the Sunnah. So we can witness and we can judge actions. And how else would we advise our brothers and sisters and help each other be better? Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Can I insert a question here? Okay, thank you. Dr. Islam, from an external viewpoint, people would say that Islam is being very unfair in this regard, right? If you look at what a Muslim woman has to kind of go through, right? She's being put under a lot more stress and a lot more pressure and a lot more trials, and we see it today where Muslim women are walking down the street and they're being attacked simply for wearing their hijab. And where you look at a man, right, a man can be dressed normally, like in modern everyday society, and he can just be a mu'min or be a Muslim and be okay. So how can one consider this fairness, right? How can one consider this from the perspective of equality? And why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put so much emphasis on one gender and not on the other?
Jazakallah khair. I would, again, reframe the question. All of these questions are loaded, by the way, in case you know what that means. Meaning they assume certain things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not unfair, obviously. And there is not extra stuff on women than men. In fact, if you study the religion, the men have so much more to do in terms of absolute actions, not in terms of difficulty, than women. In terms of rules. In terms of dress code, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, He asked the women to wear more clothing than men. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward our sisters who struggle every day as a beacon of Islam and light in this country and everywhere in the world. They represent Islam. And for those of you who chose to wear the hijab and for those of you who don't, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open your hearts to what is best for you, inshallah. Now, I want to reframe it now, so I don't want the brothers to get upset. Every Muslim is supposed to be that beacon. Every Muslim man is supposed to be able to walk in the street and everyone recognizes him by that he is a Muslim. And everyone is supposed to say, he is a Muslim, let's see what he does. And he's supposed to loudly say, I am Muslim, this is my name, this is what I stand for. This is the sunnah of Rasulullah. Now, again, I want you women to be free, because you are not free right now. You are always tying yourself to men. Subhanallah. You want to be liberated, but you are not liberated. Islam liberates you. Your relationship is not with men. You have nothing to do with them. They are not what you will. You know what I mean. Not nothing to do with them. If you're your husbands and your sons, I know you know what I mean. Meaning, their judgment is not your judgment. Your judgment is with Allah. If every man on earth was bad, should you be bad or should you be good? You should be good, in whatever form that means. Why is it? It always has to be, but men get away with it. Let them get away with it. Maryam ibnatu Imran, alayhi salam. Maryam, the greatest woman in history. Was she doing what all the women were doing at that time and all the men, or she was doing her own thing? Her own thing. وَصَدَّقَتْ بِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّهَا وَكُتُبِهِ وَكَانَتْ مِنَ الْقَانِتِينَ. And there were no one at that time that was doing what she was doing. Even the rabbis, they could not believe that a woman was this religious. She believed in the words of Allah, Maryam alayhi salam. And she believed in the laws of Allah, kutubihi. And she was min al-qanitin. Qanitin means devoted to Allah, fully. And qanitin here is not the same thing as mu'mineen. Because you can be mu'min, and may Allah make us of the mu'mineen. But the qanit is the one who accepts Allah's ruling with tranquility and peace. And he says, thank you Allah for this, I want to do it, I love it. Whatever you say, I love it. That's the qaniteen. Because you can be from the mu'mineen, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ, meaning you can say, I don't really want to do this, but I'll do it. Right? You're from the mu'mineen, alhamdulillah. But that's not the qaniteen. Maryam, while everyone was being bad, you know that everyone was bad, right? At the time of Maryam. What's the evidence? That Isa was coming, alayhi salam. And Isa is Rasul. And Allah does not send a Rasul unless the people have gone really astray. Everyone is bad. You know, not everybody. There's Zakaria there, alhamdulillah, and Yahya, and so on and so forth. But, you know what I mean. Few and her mother, Mar'atu Imran, few and far between. Few, very few. That did not stop Maryam from being the best that she could be. She did not say, the men are bad, so I will be bad too. The men are getting away with everything. That's not correct. Sister, focus on your relationship with Allah and be the best that you can be. And ask Allah to give you a man that's as good as you. Do not ask to get a man that is not good. Alright? So this inferiority complex, get rid of it. Islam did not subjugate women to men. Islam liberated women from men. The women of the companions, they were amazing. If someone looked at them the wrong way, they would say, I will pluck your eyes out with this spoon. How dare you look at me like this? And then he would say, no sister, so sorry, so sorry. I was interested in marrying you. So that's why Allah said, I'm allowed to look. So she would say, I'm going to complain to my father. So she would go and complain. There's a story behind this. And he'd say, he really does want to marry you. He said, okay, in that case, it's all right. That's how the women were in those days. Subhanallah. One day, anyway, I don't want to go into details, but that's enough, inshallah. Yes, so this summary, the men are not doing what they should be doing. That's the answer to your question. You're saying we're doing so much more than the men. And the answer is you're wrong. You are doing much more than them, but they're supposed to be doing like you, but they're not. Sorry, brothers, okay? Men today are not doing what they're supposed to do. Women, by wearing their hijab and doing that's not all, by the way. Women have other roles, which we can talk about at a different time. It may seem like what you're doing is harder. But in the end, Allah judges everyone based on what He gave them and assigned them to do. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you extra reward for wearing the hijab in this country. And the men, come on, wake up a little bit.
You guys clearly need to step up your game. Hey.
One more thing, and I'm not trying to abuse
No,
this.
go. You could do whatever you want.
It is a serious topic that the scholars said, by the way, that you are not allowed to live in a non-Muslim country unless you are showing your deen. This is a ruling that I would say, I think even the easiest madhahib say this rule. So if you are sneaking into society and you are trying to get by as a non-Muslim so you don't get criticism and complaints, as the sister was saying, then you are not doing your duty. You have to name your sons Muslim names. You don't have to name your daughters Muslim names. Why? Why? Subhanallah. Part of the topic today. Why? Because they will wear the hijab. They will be known. But the Muslim men have to be named. Prophet said, name your sons good Muslim names. Why? So that people will know that they are Muslim. Muslim men have a certain look and a certain behavior and a certain action. Muslim men have a lot of things to do. They should be praying in the masjid. They don't pray in the masjid. Women don't have to pray in the masjid. So on and so forth. They don't do it. So because they don't do it does not mean you should not do what you should do. Do your thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you because you are making jihad. By wearing the hijab, you are saying, I am Muslim. But the next step is to have good character, of course, right? Because you can't say, I am Muslim and then be bad. You have to say, I am Muslim and be good. And I expect the brothers to step up as well and to show, like their counterparts, that we are Muslim. That's it, inshallah.
I
have a quick question. Why do Muslim men like force the hijab upon women, but it's not like correct?
Why do Muslim men force the hijab on Muslim women? If you mean, why do the father instruct his daughter to obey Allah, I would say that's his duty. His father cannot control his daughter forever, but a father's job is to teach his daughter, this is what Allah said, this is what Rasulullah says, I expect you to do this. Provide a supportive environment for her. If her mother and her sister and her aunt are wearing the hijab, and she's learning the knowledge that it's in the Quran and in the hadith of Rasulullah, and the greatest generation of Muslims, which Allah said, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, Allah is pleased with them, and He is pleased with whoever follows their way. He has to teach her that. He has to tell her that. And he has to instruct her to wear it. So, if that's what you mean by forcing, this is the same as teaching your child, protect yourself when you cross the street. Do not harm yourself. Except this is dunya and that is akhirah, and that is more valuable. When you instruct your daughter to pray 5 times a day, there is no difference between praying 5 times a day and wearing the hijab in terms of commands of Allah. Yes, it's not exactly the same, I understand. I'm not saying in levels. Salah is much more important, no doubt. Now, if you meant by your question, husband forcing his wife, there's no such thing as that. It might happen. It might happen. Men abuse women all the time. It's been happening since the beginning of time until now. And it's not restricted to Muslims. All men, okay, in their cultures, have a history, sometime in their history, of oppressing women. This has nothing to do with Islam. This has to do with men. And Islam is the religion that came and liberated women. And I know this is a cliche, and someone's gonna say, no, that's not true. Not from here, alhamdulillah, but the point is, a husband does not force his wife in some kind of unusual way. Meaning he doesn't hit her or lock her. I mean, that's not part of the religion at all. Yes, he can force her, if you mean by force her, like, I'm really not happy with you, I advised you, now I'm gonna leave you in the bedroom, now I'm going to separate from you, then I might divorce you. That's if you think that's called forcing, he has that right. I want my wife to obey Allah. But I can't force her, I cannot grab her by the hair and put the hijab on her. There's no one that said that. This is not Islam. You cannot force people to listen to Allah. But just like if a husband doesn't pray, should the wife force him to pray? How is she going to force him? By punching him? No. She's going to tell him, you have to pray. If you don't pray, I'm not going to go out with you. I'm not going to do anything with you. I might even divorce you. That's a kind of pressure. It's equal on both sides. I hope is that answer what you meant? Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah.
Now we're going to take, how many more questions do you guys have? 2? Okay. We're going to take 2 questions from the audience, and then if you guys pick one, if you still have it. So who from the audience had a question? Go ahead, sister.
In the Sunnah too, can you add that part to it? Okay, thank you. So the khimar, I would have to go to the Sunnah to give you the answer for the khimar, that's why. So even though I can tell you, khimar is well known among the Arabs, what khimar is. But that's not a strong evidence, okay? So the word khimar, you know that when Allah chooses a word in the Quran, it is not by accident. Meaning He chooses the word that has the meaning in it. The word khimar, the root word of khimar is khamara, which means to cover the head. That's the actual meaning of the word. Now, the word khamr, you know khamr is alcohol, right? Or drunk, or whatever makes you drunk. It is called khamr because it covers your mind. Right? It makes you not know what you're doing. And khimar comes from khamara, meaning to cover the head. That word always means to cover the head in Arabic. It has no other meaning, not specific, but it means in general something that covers the head. That's first evidence. And this can be established from the Sunnah as well. For example, I didn't prepare this hadith, but ma ma'na al-hadith, the meaning of the hadith. One of the companions narrated that, I think it was Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, the Prophet ﷺ wiped over, listen, his khimar and his khuf. The khuf is the leather socks. So she called Rasulullah's head covering khimar. So the men wore khimar as well. But Allah did not tell the men to strike their khimar over their chest. So this is a hadith. And there's another hadith where I believe another companion, I can't remember, a male this time, not Aisha radiallahu anha, another companion radiallahu anhu, he said, I saw Rasulullah wipe over his khimar, meaning not his hair. I'm not going to get into the fiqhi issue of wudu. But the point he was trying to make the companion is, oh yeah, I saw Rasulullah wipe over his khimar, not his hair. And I saw him wipe over the leather socks and not his feet. That was the point of the hadith, but I'm not trying to get into that. The point here is I'm establishing for you that the meaning of khimar in Arabic and in the Sunnah, meaning on the tongues of the companions and Quraysh nonetheless, because the Quran came down, has to be understood from three avenues. Quran explains itself. The Quran came down with the tongue of Muhammad, so Muhammad's speech explains the Quran, and the Quran came down with the language of Quraysh. So the third avenue is what the Qurayshi people used to say. So here's Aisha from Quraysh. Here's Rasulullah, khimar, from a hadith. So the word khimar means head covering. If you mean specific details, what exactly is the khimar covering, etc., etc., this is not the time or place for that. And that goes into more fiqhi rulings. But the bottom line is, what we wanted to establish today is that there's a head covering and that it is struck over the bosom. Juyubihin means this. So, details more than that is okay. Right. All the extra things, I'm not going to answer that. You said all the extra things. I'm not going to go into that. See, because I want to be daqiq, I want to be comprehensive. But I want to focus on just establishing the idea, the concept today. To answer the second part of your question, I think I gave the evidence for that, which is not the first part, second part of your question. Khimar in the tongue of the companions and Rasulullah is a head covering. It can never mean like this. Here's a khimar over my head. If I take it off and put it over my chest, it is no longer a khimar. So when Allah says khimar, He means that. He means head covering that is then pulled. Plus, this was the action of all of the women of Medina when this ayah came down. They took it and they understood it that way. In fact, I think someone mentioned it. They tore their izar. Izar is the waistcloth that they wear below. They tore a piece of their izar and they covered their faces and their necks and their bosom. Now the face is an additional thing, a different discussion. And as you know, I don't want to get into that. The scholars have discussed that a lot. The point that the first part of your question now, the only thing I can think of right now to answer your question, because I wasn't prepared to have this, was Aisha radiallahu anha got on the camel with her brother. Her brother's a companion. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr radiallahu anhu. And Aisha is the most knowledgeable woman in the rules of Islam. Woman. She got on the camel and this is what the hadith says. I pulled off my khimar and I pulled off the neck piece as well. Listen close to what she's saying. I pulled off my khimar and the neck piece that's associated with it. So my brother hit me with his foot. He said, "What are you doing?" don't take them off. So she said to him, do you see anyone around? Okay, so we learn a lot from this. One, do you see anyone around? If someone is around, she's not allowed to do that. We learned that. Two, we learned that she called it khimar and she had a piece over the neck. She described both pieces as she took them off. And her brother, the companion, the son of Abu Bakr radiallahu, knew that it should be covered, and she knew that it should be covered if someone was there, but she, you know how brothers and sisters are, right? They hit each other. So he hit her, and she said, leave me alone, there's no one around. Okay? So, but I think that maybe approaches the answer of your question, which is, which I forgot at this point, but yes. Was that okay, sister? Jazakallah khair. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry, sister. We lost control of the debate a little bit. I'm sorry.
Jazakallah khair. So, we're going to do closing statements. Okay? So, we'll let you guys go first, and then Dr. Islam will let you wrap it up, inshallah.
Okay, so this is my closing statement. Hijab includes the way a person walks, talks, looks, and thinks, and how you carry yourself. All of it should be done modestly and applies to both women and men. Besides the hijab of the clothing, there is the hijab of the eyes, hijab of the heart, hijab of the mind, hijab of the thought. This is the complete meaning of the hijab.
Jazakallah khairan. And I can't say it better than that. So I want to thank her for ending it the right way. May Allah reward her, subhanAllah. This was a very good way to end it. Just to summarize some of the things that we said. Because in the end, we're all believers, alhamdulillah. And we want to do what is right. Even if you have some doubt, then go and ask. Do not be from the ghafilin. Do not ignore, oh, I'm not really sure. Okay, if you're not really sure, then go and find out. And find out from someone trustworthy. Who is trustworthy? Because you might go to YouTube and you might say, look up, and then you might see a guy and he might say something, or a lady. That وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيْهِ. Follow the path of the one who returns matters to Allah. Meaning, follow the one who says, Allah said, Rasulullah said, the scholars understood from what they said, so on and so forth. This is the person that you want to seek. And don't forget, sisters and brothers, make dua. Do not think that you will be guided because of your research. Do not think you will be guided because of your parents or your imam. You will be guided only if Allah wants to guide you. So say, Allah, guide me to the truth. He will let your eyes see the truth and your ears to hear the truth. And just to summarize, hijab absolutely has to do with modesty. But the wisdom of Allah is much more than that. Like the examples we gave. You think it is one thing, so you try to create a logical construct and say, I can still be modest if I do this. You know, I think there is something called modest swimwear. Have you ever heard of it? I don't know what it is, but I've heard of it. So modesty is arbitrary. Everything is arbitrary in the end. Everything is arbitrary. Some lady says this is modest and some lady says this is modest. In the end, they both look not very modest. Okay? The point is, where do you draw the line? And there is no answer. This philosophical conundrum is called ethical relativism. I can't tell you what's right, and you can't tell me what's right. You know why? Because we don't know what's right. There's no end. Right now, I'm just going to summarize. This is not part of the debate. Just to show you that there's no end to this slippery slope. The only way to end it is to say, what did Allah say? Watch. If a man took his shirt off right now, I don't recommend it, and he ran outside, he may die, but will he be arrested by the cops? Okay. If a woman, hasha lillah, meaning I hope, did the same, and someone complained, and the cops saw her, would he arrest her? Why? What is the law called? Indecent exposure, right? Is that fair? We live in the fair country of the world, the most fair country in the world. Is that fair? Why? Who decided that this is awra for women and it's not awra for men? Who decided? You know? In Colorado now, that is no longer the case. In Denver, that's not awra. And in New York State, it is not awra. 2 out of 50 states have changed it. What do you think is going to happen 50 years from now in America? What do you think? It's going to go down more. And then, by the way, I don't want to be graphic, but who decided that the lower part of the body is awra? Who decided? Hey, it's natural. Why should we wear clothes at all? I'm telling you, how are you going to rebut that argument? There's no way. You can never win this argument. So listen, they said, awra's up to here. Yeah, that's right. That's what we like. And Rasulullah said, the awra's up to here. Who is right and who is wrong? Rasulullah is right because Allah said. But if you talk to a person who is not religious, and he's honest, he will tell you there is no right. Your culture says it is here, the awra, and our culture says the awra is here. So any American non-Muslim woman who makes fun of a Muslim woman for covering herself is a fool. Because she is saying that you are wrong to cover that much, and I am right to cover this much. Who said you are right? Who said that we are wrong? There is no right and wrong when it comes to this, and by the way, many other matters of this world. That's why if you go down this path of liberalism or hedonism, following your own desires, there is no end. You know where you will end? You will end fornicating in the street, as Rasulullah said. Near the end of time, after Allah takes all the believers from this world, the people who are left on this world will be worse than animals. They will be naked in the street and fornicating, and everyone will walk by and not even care. Subhanallah. And you might say, we are almost there. And I would say, Subhanallah, you are right. We are almost to that point. Look at the end of the Romans and the Greeks. You know what they were like before Allah destroyed their civilizations? They were like that. Nakedness and debauchery. Every society that goes down this path ends that way. But the Muslims will not. Inshallah. Allah will protect us. Because we follow the law of Allah. We do not say that we are better than anybody. But we say we follow the truth. What do you follow? That's what the Quran says. Tell them, we follow Allah. We follow the truth. What God are you following? Who are you following? You're only following your own desires. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and make us of the strong believers. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Islam, for taking out of your time. I think one of the points, just to kind of, seeing things from both ends, one of the points that really hit hard that Dr. Islam mentioned in a single line actually is that you don't wear the hijab for men or for anyone else, but you wear it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So connecting everything back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the root of our religion, and I want to thank Dr. Islam for so eloquently emphasizing all of that today. And with that, we will conclude and just have some final instructions with Sheikh Yusuf. Don't get up yet. He's my best friend.
Jazakumullah khairan, guys, for all the preparation you got and for your contribution. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. Please, guys, give them a huge round of applause. Just before you go, inshallah ta'ala, next debate is going to be about proofs of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the most important debates we will have. And brother Bakr Assaf actually is our speaker for next debate. Do not miss this out. The second thing, for those who are part of the class, please text me to confirm your attendance. And for those who did not sign up yet to get the notifications, you will find Sister Aya Abdul Ghani outside in the table. Please sign up. Jazakumullahu khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's a good. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Inshallah, we're praying Salat al-Isha now. If you want to pray in Jama'ah, go to the side room. We're praying Salat al-Isha now, inshallah. We're praying Salat al-Isha now. إن شاء الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب وله وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Allah, say after me, guys. Allahu Akbar. Astaghfirullah. 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 Allahumma anta as-salam wa minka as-salam. Tabarakta wa ta'alayta ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Allahumma a'inna ala dhikrika وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. Subhanallah 33 times. Alhamdulillah. أكبر. Together inshallah. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. Don't miss out next debate Saturday 5:30 p.m. Bakr Asaf about the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and please help out the brothers to clean up inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Huh? Tell them there's a purse here. Where's...
There's gonna be...
Time is over.
Wow. Who turned this off? Wow. Good morning. Sorry?
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا